What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Emphasis on Sports. As usual, I'm your host, Damon Anthony. We're going to kick it about sports. We talk about what happens in the sports world, not in people's personal lives. That's why it's Emphasis on Sports. I can care less what any of these people do in their personal life. That is their business. Just like what I do of mine is my business. But you want to talk about my job? Talk about it. You know what I mean? So let's talk sports. The biggest thing going on right now, y'all already know what it is, the NCAA tournament, and I am here for it, and I am loving it. This is one of my favorite times of the year. I'm lucky enough to be able to create a schedule at work that allows me to be off Thursday through Sunday, where I could just kick back and watch the games. Loving it. I'll be tuned in early. I'm going to get up tomorrow. I'm going to be productive. I'm going to do all sorts of shit just so I can sit down and do nothing to watch basketball, right? And then you got to do your brackets. You can't do this and not do brackets, right? I like to do at least two. Last couple of years, I've kind of trimmed it down to only doing two, and you just stick to your guns on your brackets. That's kind of how I roll. You know, hey, it's hard to be perfect through a bracket. It's hard to predict a winner. I think this year is even more tough to pick a winner. Just out the gate, I think there's going to be a lot of people upset, a lot of feelings hurt, a lot of fan bases in shambles throughout this thing because it's kind of wide open to me. Anytime you have Auburn get the number one overall seed, which, you know, they had a really good, really solid year, but they've lost their last three games. So I don't know if they're really true overall number one seed. Number one seed is fine, right? But then you also have St. John's, you have Florida. You know, Florida got the number one in their region, but St. John's easily could have been a number one, and Florida could have been stayed a number one also. You got Duke. The biggest thing that people are asking is not only is Cooper Flag going to play, but how much is he going to play? Because that's going to be absolutely huge with how far Duke goes. Duke's a damn good team, and Duke can make an amazing run, but anytime you take away a team's best player, it's always going to make it tough. It doesn't matter who, doesn't matter what the team is, anything like that. So it's going to be interesting to see there. Then you have Houston. Houston's one of those teams that trucks along, and they're really good, and they're going to be good. But can they win it all? Can they make that kind of run? I also really like how the brackets have been laid out. Nobody necessarily has it easy, but nobody necessarily has it overly hard. Meanwhile, you look over in the women's tournament, I know the USC fan base and the USC coach is kind of in arms because they got UConn in their bracket. They got Paige Buckets in their bracket. But that's just what it is. You're a number one seed. UConn was going to get a number two somewhere. So if it's not you that's upset, it could be one of these other number ones that don't like it. Win the games. I've long said that I believe Juju is prime to have one of those Carmelo Anthony runs. Well, you're going to have to play a toughie in UConn and Page. I believe Juju can get it done. Let's not worry about all the rest, right? Let's get back to the men's side. So I'm going to keep it real in my main bracket. My main bracket, this is what I got. And I'm going to keep these sitting here and I'm going to revisit them as this thing goes on. I'm going to talk about exactly how terrible my picks were or how great. Hopefully they're great. So my final four, I got Michigan State versus St. John's. I just really love that matchup. Tom Izzo always has his team ready for the tournament. And I mean, always. The dude's been coaching forever and a day. And I remember, I think the streak was broke maybe a couple years ago. But for the longest, if you played for Michigan State, at some point or another, you were in a Final Four. Because that group would leave, the next group goes to the Final Four at some point. Tom Izzo is a fantastic coach, one of the all-time greats. I think he gets it done. I don't really believe in Auburn. They're in the same region. Because Auburn lost that last three, I'm not really sure how much I believe in Auburn, but I believe in Michigan State. So I think they're going to come out of the South region. There are some upsets that I see in that South region. I like UC San Diego to beat Michigan. I love Yale to beat Texas A&M, which is, I believe, going to put Yale in the Sweet 16, which is always cool to see those situations. Now, we know in the first two games last night, we know Alabama State won right at the buzzer, and we know that UNC. So UNC Mississippi, I like UNC in that game. I do. But I think they're going to go down the next round against Iowa State. As far as that region, that's about all I got on the upsets, right? So we look down at the West. Now, in the West, at the end of the day, I like Florida to make a nice run, at least until the Elite Eight. But I love St. John's, y'all. I really love St. John's. I like St. John's to represent them in the Final Four. Now, if I'm looking down at some upsets that I'm going to see early, I like Drake over Mizzou. That's probably the biggest one. I do like Arkansas over Kansas. I think that's going to be a real interesting game with Coach Cal playing against Kansas. Having his team against Kansas, but I think it sets up for a Sweet 16 or for a round of 32 matchup. Arkansas versus St. John's. John Calipari versus Rick Pitino. That would be just great to see, great to watch. That's what I'm hoping happens. But like I said, Elite Eight, Florida, St. John's. Give me St. John's. Give me St. John's. So when I look over at the East is a little bit different, right? I do like Duke. Duke's strong, real strong. On the upset side, I think Liberty might knock off Oregon. Those 12-5 matchups are always interesting, and I really like Liberty in this one. But I think they're going to lose in the Sweet 16 or in the round of 32 to Arizona. I think BYU squeaks by VCU. That's not a big upset there, but I like Vandy in a 10-7. I like Vandy knocking off St. Mary's. My big team in the East region is Bama. I really am impressed with Bama. What I've seen them do recently, really like them. I just like them. They're a great up and down team. I think they actually knock off Duke in the Elite Eight and represent the East in the Final Four. So then we're going to look at the Midwest bracket. This one's a little bit more straightforward. I believe I like Houston. I like Georgia to knock off Gonzaga. Clemson's one of those teams that a lot of people are liking, so I wasn't going to go against them. My one major upset here, I like High Point over Purdue. I mean, I'm kind of just drawing at straws here with this one, but give me High Point. Love Illinois, love Kentucky, then UCLA, Tennessee. I think they're just solid there. I like the Elite Eight matchup of Houston versus Kentucky, with Houston representing the Midwest in the Final Four. So the matchups there would be Houston versus Bama, Michigan State versus St. John's. I like the finals, St. John's versus Houston, with St. John's taking it home. Let's go, Coach Pitino. Let's see what you got. That one right there is my main bracket. My secondary bracket, I do have Duke knocking off Michigan State, but I really believe in St. John's. I really like what's going on there. And to me, college basketball is a little bit more wide open. So, you don't really know what's going to happen. Now, in that Alabama State St. Francis game, that is the way that you want to see the tournament start, with a shot on the very last second by Alabama State to put them actually in the full tournament. By the way, one thing that I actually don't like, that I kind of hate, is calling these kind of play-in games the first round. This isn't the first round. It's not. Well, let's just stop there. Call it the NCAA play-in. Call it the first 8. Call it whatever you want. This is the 0 round, round 0. First round starts on Thursday. We all know that. That's the way it's always been. But all in all, I'm really looking forward to just catching basketball this weekend, catching it all, seeing what's going on, really enjoying the sport. I'm also going to be tuned in. Listen, work gave away a couple free TVs, so I'm going to have some TVs set up just so I can watch some of this women's basketball too. Usual suspects, South Carolina. I think Dawn Staley's going to have her team up to go ahead and try and knock this down, take this out. But I'm really looking forward to watching what Juju's going to do. I'm really loving watching that young lady play. I think she still has to play another year before she can go into the WNBA, maybe 2. But I think she's going to take the game to another level. A la Caitlin Clark, but I think she's going to push it even further than that. When I look at it, it's, Caitlin Clark, she's kind of what to the WNBA Bird and Magic were, if you will, back in 80. Got a lot more eyes on it, made a lot more popular, a lot more people watching it. I think Juju's going to take it to that Jordan stratosphere. I really do. So I really want to see exactly what she does in this tournament. Because I'm telling you, if there's a player I could see in the women's game just go this year, it's going to be Juju. And I love how she plays. She plays like she's been playing against her big brothers and all that her whole life. Like she got NBA big brothers and she's been playing against them, figuring it out and busting their ass. And now she's taking that to the floor with the women's game. So really loving everything I've seen there. Really looking forward to watching her get down. NBA, the NBA action right now, we're looking at about 14 games for the most part, 13, 14 games, 15 games until the end of the regular season. We're going to have a rough race to the playoffs here. We know that in the East, the Cleveland Cavaliers, Boston Celtics, we know they're in the playoffs. They're locked in. They're good to go. It looks like the Knicks, the Pacers, the Bucks, and the Pistons, they're all looking like they're locked into those playoff spots and not having to deal with the play-in. Right now, the Hawks, Magic, Bulls, and the Heat are in the play-in positions in the East. I don't think any of them are going to compete for a championship. I think any of those teams that make it into the 7th or 8th spot, I think they get beat in that first round by the Cavs and the Celtics, respectfully. If everything else stays how it stays, if you have the Knicks versus the Pistons and the Pacers versus the Bucks, that's going to be fantastic. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. Knicks Pistons, there's been a lot of controversy about what people have been saying, Knicks Pistons, some of the big talking heads on TV and in the podcast world. Hey, look, 5 games separates them. Listen, 6 games separates them. We're not going to sit here and talk and act like the Pistons are bums. The Pistons actually have been having a great year, especially compared to what they were last year. Cade Cunningham is showing exactly who he is, why he was picked where he was picked, and his growth has been outstanding. Now, the Knicks, I have high hopes for the Knicks and have had high hopes for the Knicks ever since they got this trade for Cat. But the problem is, we know that their coach likes to play all of his players maximum minutes. That's okay. But when you get into the playoffs and you're doing a lot of just game, then off, then game, guys get a little tired, guys get a little banged up. We want to make sure if everybody's not healthy, that's a little bit of a detriment. So that series really could be a 6-7 game series going either way. When all is said and done and we know who's playing who, I absolutely will give my picks and run down what I think is going to happen. As I sit here right now, I'm going to say 6-7 game series either way, but a highly entertaining first round series. Pacers Bucks, another one, highly entertaining. This one actually plays well to the Pacers because they like to play the Bucks really, really well. And we're still not seeing Dame Lillard and Giannis fully gel. Can they get there? Sure. But are they there right now? No. So that could be a really good one. Now we look over at the West, and the West is real choppy. It's real, real choppy, especially 2 through about 8. Not that much really separates. There's a 5 game separation, but there's a lot of movement. Night by night, there's going to be a ton of movement. We know the Oklahoma City Thunder. They're at the top of the Western Conference. I don't think they're moving off of that. I think they're going in as number 1. Then you're going to have Houston, Denver, the Lakers, Memphis, Golden State. That's currently your 2 through 6. That is subject to change, that order, how that runs, especially when you look at 6 and 7. So Minnesota's in the 7th spot, and they're only a half game behind Golden State. They're also only a half game ahead of the Clippers, who are in 8. So I really think that 6 through 8 could move a lot over the next couple weeks. I mean, really, all of it could move. You know, you look at 9 and 10, Kings. I think Kings kind of are going to stay hugging that 9 position. 10, the Dallas Mavericks. I really don't think that they even make the play-in. The Suns are right behind them by a game. They may eke in. Doesn't really matter, though. I don't believe in the Suns overall. But really looking forward to seeing how this pans out. Because if it laid like it lays right now, then just in those middle areas, well, not even middle areas, I got Oklahoma City beating whoever comes in that 8 position. Doesn't matter. I got them beating them. Then this is where it gets funky. Houston is a really good team, really young team, but anything can happen with those really young teams, right? So it's a little bit up in the air because depending on who they play. If Houston has to play Minnesota, they have to play the Clippers. It could be Could be tough. Those long 6-7 game series, especially because of the experience on the other side of the court, because Houston is young and inexperienced. Now, if things stay like they are, that 3-6, we could have great basketball. The Nuggets versus the Warriors, that's theater right there. That is theater wide open. What the Warriors have been doing ever since they've got Jimmy, my hat's off. My hat's off. That team's rolling. They're looking like they're ready to make a run for it again. Then you got the Lakers Grizzlies. Now, the Grizzlies have been, everywhere from 2 to 6 kind of all season, and they go as Ja goes. That's a team that could be dangerous, but we know what the Lakers have. Lakers got Bron. Lakers got Luka. Then the Lakers got Austin Reeves, and Austin has been hooping, absolutely hooping. A lot of people have been talking about he's the best number 3 in the game. I don't think he is. And no slight on him at all. But you got some really good number 3s out there. When you're talking Norman Powell's of the world, some of these other players, man, look, dude's a monster. But I would love to see what would happen. Lakers versus Grizzlies. We're going to see. It's coming in a couple weeks. Other things, there's a couple other things out there in the sports world. Still waiting to see if Aaron Rodgers plays, if he's going to go anywhere. We know that the Steelers need a quarterback. Maybe they go back with Russell Wilson. We'll see. I mean, Russell has played with DK, so there could still be a little connection there. Then, you also have what's going on in Minnesota. Are they really all in on JJ for this year? I think they should be. I don't think anything good comes from bringing in a quarterback and sitting that kid for a year. I really think you just got to go. I mean, you let Sam Darnold out of the building, let the kid play, let JJ play. Then we know that with the Bengals, we've seen something that we never thought that we would see. They opened up their checkbook, and the Bengals signed Jamar Chase to a ridiculous deal, well deserving. Then they also signed T. Higgins to a very nice deal, very nice contract, well deserving. So we know that on the offensive side, Burrow has his guys, as well as Chase Brown, who was big this year. A lot of people didn't really think that he was going to be that great, but he had a fantastic year this year as a running back. And so football is footballing. One thing about football is they find a way to get you interested in next season very early. We know the draft we're about a month away from the draft, a month and some change away from the draft. There's going to be a lot of things going on. My team, the Niners, we got a ton of draft picks, and it seems like we're kind of rebuilding on the fly with a lot of young players through the draft. So, I'm hoping Shanahan and John Lynch get their heads together and actually get some good pickups through this, actually get, some good draft picks. We know that they can. We've seen the work that they do. Hopefully they get it done. All right. So look, that's it, y'all. Just wanted to run a little sports down on you, talk about the tournament. We will be back talking about the tournament kind of all weekend. We'll just have some small little clips here or there. But until next time, man, be good at it, and I will holler.